tap into something real quick. This is something that I'll say this, and I say this wholeheartedly. Now, I know you've been showing up. You've been recording. You've been doing everything consistently because you've been posting every week like clockwork. You have a set schedule. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You are literally out here being the best individual that you can be, right? But then you want to ask this question: where are the clients at? What's the revenue? Where's the ROI on all the time that you've been pouring into your podcast? Now, here's the truth. And this truth is that nobody wants to say this out loud. They want to be behind these closed doors. They want to hold these meetings, but nobody wants to say this out loud. All right. Most podcasters are working hard and getting broke doing it. You're spending money, but you're not getting nothing in return. You're putting out episodes and you're getting a few hundred downloads, maybe, and wondering why the phone isn't ringing. See, you're doing everything. I mean, every single thing that the gurus have told you to do, and still crickets. No DMs, no discovery calls, not a single client. And here's what most people assume. They think more downloads equals more money. No. See, they think if they just, get more listeners, then the clients will come. No, that's not true. All right. But I'm here to blow that straight up right now, blow it out the water, because I've seen podcasters with 10,000 downloads a month who are dead broke. And I've seen podcasters with 400 downloads of loyal listeners who are crushing it, who are closing 5-figure months. Downloads don't pay bills. It's the messaging that does that for you. All right. So today we're going to get busy with it, man. I hope what I just said to you sticks because it's so true. Today we're breaking down the exact framework that I use, and man, many coaches, consultants, and podcasters in this world today, they use the same magnetic messaging framework. I use this to help the coaches, my consultant friends, and some service providers turn every single episode that they drop into a client attraction machine. So stay locked in. This one changes everything, and this is where you become the podcaster you always wanted to be. Let's get it.
Welcome to Podcast for Profit, the show where podcasters become CEOs. I'm your host, Tony Porter, and every week I'm giving you the strategy, systems, and game you need to grow your audience, monetize your message, and build a 7-figure podcast business. No fluff, no cap, just real results. Let's get into it.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Podcast for Profits, the show where we stop trading time for likes and start turning conversations into currency. Now, I'm your host, Mr. Tony Porter, your podcast monetization strategist and business coach. Today, we're diving into the magnetic messaging framework, the exact framework, exactly how I attract the clients that I want to work with, and every single episode that I drop. Now, before we start, let's get real about something. All right, we got to get real because we can't do the fake, the fluff, and all of that. If you're a coach, consultant, or a service provider who's tired of podcasting into a void, and what I mean by a void, it's like you're standing at the Grand Canyon and you're yelling across the thing, but nobody hears you because it's just this wide open space. If this is you and you're ready to start generating real clients and real revenue, pay attention. Now, I know some of y'all might say, who's been rocking with me for a minute, hey, Tony, you say that every episode. Yeah, you need to. One thing you got to understand is it takes action with the knowledge. It makes everything better. All right. So these are the strategies we're going to break down today. They're not theories. All right. They're the exact frameworks I use. They're the exact frameworks most of your top podcasters use. And these are the ones that I help my clients turn their podcast into a business. Now, here's what we're covering today. Why most podcast messaging repels clients instead of attracting them. So why are you turning them away with your message? All right. And then we need to talk about the 3 core pillars of the magnetic messaging framework. You need to know how to craft a listener lock-in statement that makes your ideal client feel the same or feel like they being seen. You need to get you a story stack method that builds trust faster than any sales pitch. And then you need to finally figure out how to close every episode with a trust transform CTA. And this is the thing that moves people into action. Now, if you feel all of that and you're ready to learn all of that, you ready to get all of that cracking, we here. Let's get it popping, man. We ain't got time to waste when we doing this. Okay. So pillar number 1 that we need to talk about today is why your messaging is repelling the clients you're trying to attract. Think about that before we dive into this. What are you saying to these folk that's making them say, I ain't fooling with this person? Well, let's get into it because apparently you need to write that down so you can have it for yourself. I'm not asking you to answer me, but if you want to, you can leave it down in the comments. Right? Now, but here's what you need to understand. If you've ever finished recording an episode and thought, man, this is some good content right here, but then you heard nothing from nobody, this is for you. You're not struggling because your lack of knowledge. No. That's not what you're struggling about. See, you're struggling because your messaging is speaking to everyone and not speaking to just one person. So here's the thing, and I can attest to this because when I started my first podcast back in of course, the blocks of Louisville, I thought the goal was to sound so smart. I wanted to sound like all the people I listened to on the radio, because at that time, podcasting was new and everyone who I was listening to was from the radio. See, I was dropping knowledge bombs. I was citing statistics. I was giving people strategies. I was doing it all. I was completely confused about why nobody was reaching out. And I remember sitting in my car one night, parked outside of the gas station over off Dixie Highway. And I was just staring at my download numbers like they were supposed to be magically turned into dollars. And they weren't. Then I started studying what actually made people pull out their wallets. And so a few years later, as I got into this, I started deep diving and I started getting into marketing. And then I put the two together. And for me not to get the people to nod their heads, I realized the problem wasn't the content. The problem was my messaging did not make anyone feel like I was talking specifically to them. To me, it felt like a textbook. And people don't hire textbooks. They hire people that they trust. And when I sit back and I really think about that, I was like, oh man, I've been talking at the people instead of talking to the people. And then the one thing that I need you to lock in right now is this. You got to be specific message every time. See, specific messaging always outperforms general messaging. Stop trying to appeal to everyone. The riches are in the niches. If you've never heard that, you're going to hear that. The riches are in the niches. All right. And more importantly, the clients are in clarity. When someone's listening to your episode and says, how did he know that's exactly what I was going through? That's the magnetic messaging part. All right. That's when the DMs start coming. Because what you have to understand is people buy off emotion. People trust you. They feel like you're going through it. They feel like you ride right alongside them. You know how you be in the car with your homeboy, your homegirl, and y'all both riding and something pop off? They want to know if you're going to be the ride or die. Well, back in the day, that's what it was. Now they want to know if you're going to be whatever they doing, and sometimes that just don't work because you get jammed up. That ain't what we're trying to do. So here's a simple test I need you to do. Go back and listen to one of your first 3 episodes. Matter of fact, listen to the last 3. Count how many times you say coaches, consultants, and service providers versus how many times you address one specific person and one specific problem. If you can't count the specifics on one hand, your messaging is too broad. So I focus on coaches. Everything is for podcasters, coaches, and consultants and service providers. But I focus on coaches. And we focus on the coaches who want to get 3 to 5 lead gens, which is clients, each month into a high ticket operation that they have. And so when I tell people that if you want to go deeper on nailing your niche message, I got a whole training inside the Podcasters Academy. It's my free school community. All right. This is where I break down exactly how to identify your dream listener avatar, how to build your entire messaging architectural system around them. So if you really want to get into it, the link is going to be in the show notes below. All right. They're going to be in the show notes below. But we're just getting started, because once you know who you're talking to, now you need to know how to talk to them in a way that builds trust fast. This is exactly why or what we're building in pillar number 2. And this is where most podcasters leave money on the table. And trust me, if you pay attention to what I'm saying to you, there's a lot of money that gets left on the table in each episode. And we're trying to fix that, but we're fixing it one step at a time. All right. So when a friend of mine named Marcus, who's a business coach, and he's a business coach down in Atlanta, when we fixed his messaging using the exact framework, he went from getting 0 inquiries from his podcast to booking 3 discovery calls a week off one single episode. Just one. And that's what's waiting on the other side of getting this right. See, once you get it right, the doors open. Okay? The doors will seem to open. And when they open, man, they open so far that the floodgates just start coming in. And now you're in a situation that you always wanted to be in. So then as we open the floodgates, we get in the story, pillar number 2. And that's the story stack. This is where building trust that makes people buy before you even pitch. See, a lot of people become grimy, man. They selling to you. Listen, here's the one thing I don't do. And I will tell you this in a heartbeat. I have a Jeep Rubicon. I don't have a Lamborghini. I don't have a Bugatti. I don't have a Maybach. But I see a lot of people who want to shoot their ads and they in their Maybach and they dressed up. Listen, putting on fancy gear does not, trust me when I tell you this, does not draw attention. And I learned this from some of the people that I grew up around. And I'm not talking about the ones on the block. I'm not talking about the ones who used to hustle. I'm talking about the ones who was in business, who literally, I sat down in a meeting one day and it was a meeting that was scheduled and they said, hey, come as you are. And I'm like, is this church? Because that's what the message they always say, come as you are, right? So when you put your faith in God, he tells you to come as you are, you come as you are. Some of y'all took it too far. Some of y'all came like y'all was at the club. No. And some of y'all came like y'all just rolled out of bed. No. But here's the thing. You already know everything you need to know to help your clients, right? Because you're the expert. You position yourself as the expert. But knowing something and communicating it in a way that makes the people trust you even more to pay you, now that's a different skill set. Now, most podcasters skip this step because that makes the sales happen before the sales call. And I don't understand why they skip it. This is that story that you need to be doing. This is that story that you need to tell. This is the stat. And one thing that I figured out when I was building this particular podcast here from the ground up, see, I was hustling. I was literally hustling. I was hustling products, trying to think, oh, if I sell this digital product here, then they'll come over here and listen to the podcast. And that's how I was doing it. That's how I was moving. And I was trying to learn the game. I was figuring it out. What made people choose me over everyone else? It wasn't always the best product on the table. I've been in places with podcasters who have had dope setups, $1,000 setups. They look immaculate. But the problem was their messaging was crap. Now, at that time, I didn't know that. But as I started studying and I started paying attention to some of the top podcasters in the world, I started realizing they ain't talking about shit. So when I started telling my story, when I started giving you the story, this is what made things different for me. See, when I say I went from the block to the boardroom, literally the block to the boardroom, only difference is I had some type of book sense to where I never got caught up. And that's what makes this so particular, because it was the story behind it. It was knowing why I was doing what I was doing and where I came from is how I got to where I am and how I'm standing on my own. As people say, how I'm standing on business with this podcast. And that's how you got to be. Listen, quit trying to be like somebody else when reality is people want to know who you are. And that's what I'm trying to tell you right now. The same truth applies to your podcast. People don't just buy your service. They buy your story. So when I tell you we're from hustling on the block to helping young men when it came to sports, because it was something that I knew how to do. When I say 37 years in coaching, 15 NFL players that I've been around and had the pleasure to coach, two or three Super Bowl players, one Super Bowl winner. Now, I didn't have a hand after they went on to high school, but I stay in touch with them. I still reach out to them and we'll speak, we see each other, embrace it, everything like that. But I was the foundation, and this coaching has been in my blood because somebody took a chance on me. So I felt like it was my time to repay that debt to society. And as I started telling my story of getting those phone calls when at 6 o'clock in the morning, hey man, your father was murdered. What? Man, my daddy wasn't in the streets, but I told the story. Or your cousin being killed. And her recently, the youngest brother of the cousin who got killed 20 plus years, he gets killed the same way. I'm giving you the authenticity. I'm letting you know I'm human. My name is Tony Porter. My name is not Tyler Perry. My name is not Tip Harris. My name is not Curtis Jackson. I'm Tony Porter. I can't give you 50's story. I can't give you T.I.'s story. I can't give you Tyler Perry's story. I can't give you Michael B. Jordan nor Denzel Washington's story. I can give you the story about me growing up in West Louisville, hustling to survive from a single parent household. That's how you do it. And the audience was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling it. And then that's when I started building my client pipeline. This is called a story stack because it's not just one story. It's a layered approach. You stack your origin story. Tell them where you come from. You stack your struggle story. You give them the specific moment, the specific thing that wasn't working. You stack your breakthrough story. This is what changed everything. This was that aha moment. and you stack your client story. Y'all want proof? There's an episode that I just shot maybe a month ago of a gentleman who started his podcast by just chopping it up with me at lunch. We worked together. Now he's a fragrance influencer, all right? My homeboy runs an online radio station. We used to do street promotions for Def Jam Communications, Media, the record label. He's doing his thing. So everybody is successful because the proof that I've been teaching actually works. Each layer builds on the last. So you can't skip this. By the time you stacked all four, your listeners is either A, ready to invest, B, they crying, or C, they ready to do all of the above. All right. So here's the one actionable step that I need you to think about and listen to from this particular segment. In your next episode, before you teach any strategies, drop a 90-second story that shows you've been exactly where your listeners is right now. See, my podcast is, we're trying to get these clients to understand that I'm from the block. I'm a hustler. I'm up 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out my next move. And that's how I used to be when I was growing up. Everybody around me had Jordans. I didn't have Jordans. I had to get Jordans. How'd I get them? I had to do what I had to do. But then once I realized things was getting a little too out of control, hey, I wasn't trying to go to jail. Wasn't trying to die. That wasn't in my DNA. Let me switch lanes here real quick. I've taken that mentality and my coaching mentality and put them together, formed the Podcast for Profits, in the Armand Media Group, which is the newest version. That's the umbrella. That's where we're at. Tell your story. Quit playing around with it, man. Tell your story. Now, here's what I want you to do. I need you to tell your story. Screenshot this. Write it on a whiteboard. Tattoo it to your brain. Your story is not a distraction from your content. Your story is the content. The coaches who figured that out are the ones who have a wait list. And what I mean by wait list, those are the ones, those coaches right there are the ones who are literally waiting on people, waiting on you to sit there and say, hey, I got a spot open. They want to get that transformation. In this economy right now, the biggest thing is online education, but don't nobody want to go to college. They want that knowledge, but they don't want to go to college. Think about it. Will they spend $2,500 in order to learn something? But it's got to be valuable. Or are they going to spend $5,000 and get better value? Or they going to spend $100,000 and don't get jack but a piece of paper that says something that you got somebody sitting in the White House right now tell you that it's worthless. Now, inside the Podcasters Academy, I got a story stack worksheet that, we're going to put together. And it's all about building all 4 layers of your story for your podcast. It takes about 30 minutes, and it changes how you show up every single episode. It's in the resources. It's free. We're not charging you. The Podcasters Academy, it's free. The link will be down in the show notes below. That's how you're supposed to do it. Now that you got specific messaging, you've got a story that you've built trust on. Now it's time to get to this next one. So how do you constantly close an episode? How do you do that? And this is the episode. This is the situation that moves people from listeners to leads, because there's a right way and a wrong way to do a CTA. And most people are doing it the wrong way. And this is pillar number 3. So just the other day, I had talked to this virtual assistant, and they wanted to start a podcast on being a virtual assistant. And she told me she felt weird sharing her personal story on her podcast. She thought people would just wanted tactics. And I was like, nah, that ain't the case. So you got to understand, you struggle because you lost your job. You struggle because you don't want to open up. I said, open up, man. Let these people know. Let these people in. So after she implemented the story stack, she got 6 messages in 1 week from listeners saying, hey, I feel like you was talking directly to me. 2 of them became paying clients within 30 days. So stories, they sell. So stop acting like they don't. Because even when you go to the dealership to buy a car, there's a story behind the reason why that car is being sold. There's a story behind the reason why you go, when you see these ads, there's a story behind the ad. You just ain't figured it out yet. So we got to talk about the trust transformation of a CTA. How to close an episode like it's a sales strategy. Now, here's the one thing you got to do, and this is pillar number 3. You're probably ending each episode like this. If you enjoyed today's show, leave us a review, share it with a friend, and I get it. That's the most generic BS out here today. I'll tell you something else generic. Sitting on the couch with some sunglasses on, that's generic to me. If you want to be hood rich, that's on you. I've seen 25 podcasts like that, and I tell you, They're doing well because that's what they're attracting their people. I can't do it. I can't sit on the couch and put some sunglasses. First of all, I got to see what the hell I'm looking at. Second of all, I ain't that cool. Third of all, I ain't trying to be that cool. All right. But that CTA doesn't move anyone closer to giving you money. It really doesn't. All right. And if your podcast is supposed to be a business, your CTA needs to work like one. One thing I can understand, people podcast right now for hobbies. They've been doing it for 3 to 5 years, but listen, I've come to realize, and I've studied. Here's what I've studied before I go any further. Here's what I've studied. I've studied Atlanta. I've studied Miami. I've studied LA. I've studied New York. I've even studied Nashville, Alabama. And when I say Alabama, I'm talking about Birmingham, Mobile, places down there like that. Detroit. Right now, hey, man, shout out to the guys in Detroit, man. They killing it. I just need y'all to do me a favor. Speed up them episodes for me. Murder Pain, bruh. Speed them episodes up for me, my guy. Boy, but I'm loving everything that they doing. I'm loving. I studied because I need to know how we're keeping it cultural and business at the same time. All right. How do we keep it cultural and business at the same time? And one thing I do know this is early on, I was ending every episode the same way. Go follow me on Instagram. Leave me a review. Tell your friends. And people were doing it. It was getting me reviews. It was getting shares, but it wasn't getting clients. I want the revenue. I was building goodwill and converting zero into the currency. That ain't what I'm here for. So then I started studying. Again, I studied. Listen, man, if you're not studying your competition, then you just doing this for a hobby. One of the most controversial podcasts out there, and it's a live show. And I've been watching them for a minute, man. They are so meticulous about how they maneuver. It's a panel. They do a panel. I got to remember the name. I swear to God, I got to remember. Every time I catch it, boy, I just get amazed because some of the stories that be on our people, they do audience talks. All right. And they have a panel. I think it's 4 guys, 4 women. Dope content. I swear the name escapes me. I just want to give them their props, but the name escapes me. Here's the thing. They work together so well. I think it's out of Atlanta. They work together so well that you wouldn't know that half the time they're arguing against what they're talking about because they allow each other to give their opinions. They allow each other to speak. They allow each other to do this. And then when somebody else's rebuttal time or a question gets asked and they got that answer, hey, hold on, let me get that for you. Got you. Cool. It's like the 85 South show to me. Them 3 comedians work so well together and they feed off of each other. And that's what this is. You want people to feed off of you. All right. So when you start giving them certain CTAs, like if you ever pay attention to the 85 South show or any one of these podcasts, they don't tell you to follow. But I get it. Some people feel like that you trying to tell somebody how to do something is being salesy. It's like those pushy ass car salesmen. Hey, I got this for you. I got that for you. I got this for you. But they don't never tell you the honest to God truth. Well, as soon as you walk in there and you got the knowledge, they don't want to hear it. But the ones who are smart close with the next step that feels so obvious, so valuable. I mean, look at your favorite podcast this week and see how they close their episodes out. That's one assignment I want you to do. Look at your favorite podcast and see how they close their episodes out. And then you'll feel like, damn, Tony was. So what I had to do is when I started paying attention, I took the energy and I rebuilt how I end every episode. I called it the Trust Transformation CTA or the Trust Transfer CTA. Because the goal isn't to tell people what to do next. The goal is to transfer all of the trust you built throughout this entire episode into a single compelling next step. Now, here's the formula. It's 3 parts. First, reference the transformation. Connect your CTA directly to whatever you're transforming them to think. All right. Don't just say, join my free community. Say, if what I shared with you today about this magnetic messaging resonates with you and you want me to personally help you build your own for your podcast, that's how you do it. Second, make the next step obvious and low risk. The lower the barrier, the higher the conversation. All right. That's why Podcasters Academy is free. You get them in. You build the trust. Man, first of all, don't nobody know who you are. So you trying to sell them something, they're going to be like, man, I don't know this fool. And especially with what's going on today. And then you got here's another thing that burns me up. Because you're building the trust, you let the results show, and then you create the soft urgency. No fake countdown timers, just real urgency based off real value. That last part right there, real value. I hate when people mislead you. Comment this below and I'll send you the free link to it. And when they send you the link to it, it's a link to go to their stand store to pay $30 for some prompts that you could come up with yourself. Or you just tell them, hey, the people who joined this week are getting access to the live trainings that I do every Friday, every Saturday, and every Sunday. That's the urgency that feels honest, because what better way can you do it to get some live training? Now, here's the thing you got to understand. A weak CTA at the end of a great episode is like cooking an amazing meal and serving it on paper plates. The food is incredible, but the presentation kills the experience. Your CTA is your presentation. It must match the quality and the quantity of everything you just delivered. All right. Now, on this episode, I'm going to model exactly what I just taught. If what we cover today, the magnetic messaging framework, the story stack, and the trust transfer CTA, if any of these hit home, here's what you need to do next. Come join the Podcasters Academy. It's free. It's on school. It's where we hang out. We answer questions personally and give away some of the frameworks that I charge $2,500 for inside of the Podcast Profit Engine, which is my signature course. You lose nothing by showing up. The link is in the show notes below, and I'll see you on the inside. That's the magnetic messaging framework. 3 pillars, 1 mission, turn every episode you drop into a client magnet. Now let's talk about how you take all of this in and go deeper. All right. So when you implement all 3 pillars together, specifically messaging, stack stories, and strategic CTAs, your podcast, well, guess what? Stops being content and starts being currency. That's not a metaphor. That's a business model. You feel me? You got it? So we tapped into that, right? So now that we tapped in, look, I know everything we talked about today, the magnetic messaging framework, the 3 stack pillars, the story stack, trust CTA transfer, this is the foundation. But the foundation is just the beginning. If you want to go deeper, man, first thing you do is grab that conversational currency checklist. It's free. Just grab it. It'll walk you through, and I kid you not, it'll walk you through every touch point in your podcast funnel that shows you exactly where you're losing money, where you're losing leads. Second, download the client generating podcast blueprint. When I tell you this right here is the roadmap to turning your podcast into a client acquisition system from day one, you got to have it. Now, here's the thing about the Podcast Accelerator. We're going to put you on the waiting list. We're going to drop this mid-spring, right? Now, you got 2 options. You can either join for free or you can join with the Accelerator. This is where we give you the full curriculum, messaging, structure, monetization, the playbook, all in one place. But you gotta walk. You can't run. You got to walk. But you got to crawl before you can walk. So here's what I need you to do. Just join the Podcasters Academy for free. Take the free course. Let's just start there. Take the free freaking course. Because guess what? That course is about $5,000. We're giving it away for free, man. Free. You're going to get the actionable tips, the workbook. You're going to get all of that. But your first step is you need to just, if you're feeling it, join the Podcasters Academy. It's free. It's on school. This is where conversation starts. This is where clients are made. Come join us. Link is in the show notes. That's all you need to know, man. There's nothing else that you can not know about this. All right. Y'all feel me? Man, go make your messaging, your magnetic messaging framework work for you. That's a wrap for today's episode of Podcast for Profits. You now have your framework for the magnetic messaging. You know how to speak specifically to your ideal client. You know how to stack your stories, build your trust faster in any pitch. And guess what? You know how to close every episode like a strategic strategist and not a hobbyist. Now, here's the move. Stop waiting for perfection to implement this. The perfect moment is right now. Your next episode is your next opportunity. Use the framework, test the CTA, and see what happens. Y'all know who it is. It's your man, Tony over here for Podcast for Profits. If this episode hit, share it with another podcaster who's tired of working for free. Subscribe if you already have it. Drop a comment on the DM and let me know which pillar hit hardest for you today. And remember, this show exists for one reason, to help you stop treating your podcast like a hobby and start treating it like a business that it is. We turn conversations into currency. Now go turn yours in. Man, I'm Tony, Podcast for Profits. I'll catch y'all in the next episode. I holla.
Thanks for tuning in to Podcast for Profit. If you got value today, share this episode with a creator who's ready to level up. And make sure you hit follow so you never miss the moves we're making. If you're serious about turning your podcast into a business, tap the link in the show notes to join the Solo Empire